entities. And so it's good to be approachable, and yet to be really effective, you need to follow parliamentary procedure. So what the NAPC was talking about with this is that whether or not a commission follows the correct procedures can make the difference between whether or not a decision stands if it's challenged, which is absolutely true. I went through this in Angola about 4 years ago. And the reason that they won their case, the judge said, was because they followed their procedures. So it's really important, and your guidelines call for following Robert's Rules of Order. So that's a good reason to do it. If something's challenged, the judge isn't going to care what the decision was, but he is going to care about how it was made. So following the correct procedure reassures the public also that you have the authority to tell them what they can and can't do, and you aren't just making it up as you go along. So the chair is the main parliamentarian, but all commission members and staff need to have a working knowledge of the procedure. So now the next one. So who is Robert, right? Robert was a military engineer, Henry Martin Robert, and he rewrote the parliamentary procedure rules in 1876 because Thomas Jefferson's suggestions that they were following at that time were deemed to be too complex for the average citizen. So they're based loosely on the practices of Congress, and it was actually written in response to his own poor performance at leading a public meeting that erupted into open conflict because it wasn't led well. And we're still using them today, and they use them all over the world. So, next. So why follow it? There's a lot of reasons. It helps us practice and protect our democratic way of life. It protects people's rights, allows you to do things as a group. It protects the right of the majority to decide and the minority to be heard. Protects the rights of individual members and those that are absent. And it's supposed to be used to help and not hinder decision making. So the purpose of every meeting is to transact business and not show off how good you are at parliamentary procedure. Next. So the chair, is responsible for maintaining order. Like a referee, we need to get you a black and white striped shirt, I guess. So you're responsible for enforcing the rules and making sure that business is conducted in a fair and effective manner. Being on time, starting on time, you are superb at that, so thank you. I'm not everywhere do I work do they do that, so it makes a big difference if you start on time instead of 15 minutes late. Having a detailed agenda and sticking to it is important. Being prepared, being a teacher and keeping the group working together by explaining what you're doing and why you're doing it. Controlling the floor, so the chair gets to assign who has the floor and who can speak, and there should be no private side discussions. You need to be impartial. The chair making sure the members from all sides of an issue have a chance to speak without being interrupted. Be composed. No matter what, the presiding officer should remain calm and keep the meeting moving. Be precise. The chair should always restate a motion before taking a vote. Then you announce the results of that vote and make sure that the results are clear. Helps with taking minutes as well. Being focused, the presiding officer should not allow irrelevant discussion, keep people on track. Always remember that informalities should not lead to chaos. And not everything on the agenda requires a vote either. Routine business can just be agreed by general consent, but if there is objection, it needs to be put to a vote. So next we talk about the agenda. So pretty much the way yours goes here, you've got the call to order. So at this point, the chair says, I call this meeting to order. Roll call, will the secretary or whoever's taking roll, please do roll call. You should read the names and members respond with here or present, and then say we have a quorum, and ask if everyone's read the minutes. That leads into approval of the minutes. If there's any corrections, and if there are none, again, a motion to approve. We have correspondence reports, so then we'll move to correspondence reports. Are there any claims, COAs, whatever? And we deal with each of those. On to committee reports. The chair asks, are there any committee reports? And then they weigh in. Old business, so anything that's unfinished from a previous time falls under old business. After that, we get to new business, and so this is, they say now this meeting is open for new business. So I will give you this handout when I'm done here, but in the handout that Bruce gave me about handling motions, they state how to do this really well, and it could be a good reference if you're hesitant of how to word things. I have some commissions where members are just petrified to make a motion. They're afraid they're going to say something wrong or out of order. And so sometimes it helps to have a paper in front of you that kind of says, this is what we should say. So if you're doing a motion, the member says, I move that, whatever. And then another member seconds the motion, or the chair asks, is there a second, if it isn't happening immediately. And then the chair should state that motion and ask for discussion. And members start discussing that. Just debate on the merits of the motion. So then it's closed, the discussion's over, no one's talking any further. The chair puts the motion to vote. That's an important time, again, if any changes have occurred, to restate that motion so that people know very clearly what they're voting on. And then once the vote is taken, the chair announces results of the vote. Let's see here on that one. So, and then, all in favor say aye, opposed say nay. After we get done with all the new business, everything's been voted on and approved or denied, however that goes. We move on to hearing of visitors. We ask, are there visitors who wish to speak? And they do. Announcements, are there any announcements? Should also announce when the next meeting's going to be held, just in case there's an issue with that. Some of my commissions are very short on members, so it's helpful to know a month in advance if 3 people are going to be gone on the same day. So always good to bring that up to people's attention. And finally, adjournment. May I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting? So, next slide, some things to remember. All members are equal. Doesn't matter if you have a position on the board or if you're just a member in general. Everybody's equal. Your votes all count the same. You must have a quorum to conduct business, and in LaPorte that's 4 people. The majority rules. Silence is consent. So members that do not vote are in essence agreeing to go along with the decision of the majority. And you shouldn't recuse yourself unless you just have a major conflict. Just because you feel tense about it and you don't want to go down on record as voting against something controversial, that's not a reason to recuse yourself. You recuse yourself if you are related to the person, or you're doing business with the person, or you go to church with the person, something that's a personal connection, not just, I don't want to make a decision that people won't like. That's not the way to do it. There is a 2/3 vote rule, so it's only necessary when you're limiting or taking away the rights of members. So that's something that rarely happens, so we won't go into that too much. There's 2 kinds of motions. There's the main motion, so that's what the group takes action on. It's an opinion expressed by the group. There's also a secondary motion. That's when a main motion is on the floor and before it's been decided. So, for example, if a motion's on the floor and I move that a special committee be formed to address it. So secondary motions always take priority over the main motions. So it's like a stack of cards. Secondary motions go on top and must be dealt with first before you can reach the bottom, the main motion. Important words to use: I move. That's very important to form your motion properly. I move that, whatever. And a majority vote is defined as more than half the votes cast. So sometimes we have a little issue with that here. So there's plenty of you tonight. There's 5, but Bruce is not a voting member. He is a member, so we have to have Bruce here to have a meeting. But that doesn't mean that as long as a majority of the rest of you vote for something, it's approved. So even if that takes you below 4 members voting, say there were only 4 of you, including Bruce, the 3 that were left could vote, and that would still be official. So it's just a little bit different, but that works. So I think that's the majority of what's on the sheet. I will give you this, and this is just something good to remember. You know, you don't want people to just die of boredom here. Meetings can be very productive, or they can be a huge waste of time. I think we've all been to both, but the good news is it's up to you. So you can decide which one you choose to have. So I will give you this. This is the one. Okay. Any questions? Concerns?
I'm sure I will have questions.
You know where to get me. Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much, Deb, for doing that for us. Will someone make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second the motion to adjourn the meeting.
The motion is to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Any opposed? So moved. The meeting is adjourned at 6:28. Our next meeting is in a month. Now I don't want to go.